The news the U.S. had hit Iran came during the night here in Israel, so most people were asleep. The first response from Iran, on the other hand, came as people were waking up. According to Israeli officials, there were 2 waves of missiles. The first just after 7 a.m., the second minutes later. Air defenses intercepted and destroyed most of the estimated 35 projectiles. 3 made it through. There were impacts in Haifa, Tel Aviv, and just south of Tel Aviv. The Israeli Health Ministry reports 86 people were taken to hospital. No one was seriously injured. Now, the government is asking journalists not to identify specific locations. But at this site, there was heavy damage to homes inside a radius of about 300 meters from where the missile struck. Dozens of homes will have to be torn down. Everywhere we've been over the last few days, anywhere a missile has landed, we've been surprised that more people weren't injured or killed. And that applies to this home. There were 3 people in a safe room in the basement when the missile struck here this morning.
There was a big bomb, but we didn't feel shaking.
These rooms are very impressive.
Yeah, it's very solid.
The Israeli government is retightening rules across the country. Public gatherings are banned and only essential businesses are allowed to open. But a new banner in Tel Aviv does represent much of the public sentiment here. Many welcome U.S. involvement.
Trump is keeping his promise to keep Israel safe.
Go for it, Trump. Thanks for helping us. Thanks for being next to us.
Now, there are banners on the streets of the Iranian capital as well. The U.S. attack is being called a grave violation of international law, one the government has to stand up to. This man says the U.S. made a futile move and has endangered its interests in the region. Well, the Iranian president joined a rally in the streets of Tehran Sunday. There were chants of death to the USA, but so far there's been no retaliation against U.S. troops in the region. That's been the biggest threat in recent days from the Iranian government and something everyone is watching. Jeff?
All right, Mike Armstrong in Jerusalem. Thanks, Mike.
Beyond the Middle East, a chorus of support for the U.S. strike on Iran's nuclear sites.
God bless America. Merci, Trump.
And concern for what happens next.
The U.S. has now taken action to alleviate that threat. It is important that we now de-escalate the situation.
The question looming over the region now is, how will Iran respond? Experts say the regime's reaction depends on what it believes the U.S. will do.
J.D. Vance and President Trump are saying and tweeting regime change isn't on the agenda. But I don't think the Iranians are convinced.
Iran had promised to attack the U.S. if the Americans intervened. The U.S. has military bases in more than half a dozen countries in the region, like Qatar and Kuwait, with tens of thousands of American troops. On Sunday, Iran's parliament voted to close the Strait of Hormuz, a vital shipping lane for more than 20% of the world's oil. If that happens, it will likely drive up global prices.
That would perhaps get China to get more involved to try and broker some sort of peace.
A former Canadian diplomat to Iran points out the country still has missiles and a proxy, the Houthis in Yemen, who can help make shipping in the strait painful. But Donald Trump warned the U.S. could keep attacking Iran if it strikes back.
Focusing on Israel seems to be what they're maybe hoping to do, because they're banking that Trump doesn't want to get into this war.
Iran's long-term strategy is another issue. The regime has already vowed to rebuild its nuclear sites, and Horak suggests is likely considering how to use them.
There can be an argument that's, I'm sure, being made that none of this would be happening if we actually had a nuclear weapon.
Dennis Horak says what the regime does next likely depends on how damaged their nuclear sites are.
They are pragmatic, they are rational, but they're also prone to miscalculation.
Horak says the regime is likely weighing what it can do, but knows doing nothing could invite more attacks. Nathaniel Dove, Global News, Toronto.